going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, along with Kristen, and this is FLIX. Kristen, what's going on?
Hey, we're doing it again.
We're doing it again.
Like it didn't just happen a couple minutes ago.
It's almost like we didn't just record reviews for 2 episodes of WandaVision like 10 minutes ago.
That is definitely not what happened.
Definitely not.
Definitely didn't just do that.
Definitely not time travel. Definitely not the multiverse of podcasts. But we're going to do something a little different. Every now and then we just pick a random topic rather than just reviewing something. And one of the things that's happening in the MCU right now is there's a lot of things, WandaVision being one of them, that we're watching not only for what we're seeing at the moment, but like all the other things it's going to lead to. And for my money, just for how deep the rumor mill is, one of the biggest examples of that has to be Spider-Man 3. And I have to call it Spider-Man 3 because it doesn't even have a proper announced name yet. But that doesn't stop it from having a bazillion rumors and supposed official announcements and supposed confirmations. And if all of these confirmations are true...
It's as bad as Batman.
Yeah.
As bad as
the Flashpoint Batman movie?
Yes.
Because the actual The Batman movie with Glitter Boy actually looks pretty good. But, I mean, Spider-Man, the third one, Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and because we're in the pandemic, I'll call it Spider-Man Work From Home. But
boo.
Yeah, okay, I got the Kristen boo. We're already off to a great start. So
Yep.
I said to Kristen, while we were getting ready to do stuff for WandaVision, I've got a shit ton of rumors about the Spider-Man movie. Let's just spitball through some of the rumors. So, we don't really know what the story is for Spider-Man 3 yet, other than it's got to pick up on Far From Home, where he gets outed by Mysterio after defeating Mysterio. So, theoretically, everybody knows who Spider-Man is. First of all, the fallout of that is going to be monstrous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to be a total, like, either he's got to convince everybody that it's not true, or he's got to deal with protecting everybody else in his immediate circle, like MJ and his aunt and whoever. But also, that makes him a target for whoever the main villain is for the next one, because that hasn't been announced. But it brings me to a very interesting point, where he's going to have to eventually face up to, you know, the whole, even though you're a superhero, there's people out there that don't think you should do what you are doing, and
You shouldn't be a vigilante. They're not into vigilanteism.
Right, and potentially, if people are seeing you as a vigilante, you're going to get charged with something. Which brings me to the first rumor that I've heard. And not so much the rumor in and of itself, but what it could lead to. And that's what a lot of these are, is, hey, I've heard this rumor, it could lead to this. Potentially, in terms of his basically needing to defend himself, we could be seeing the introduction of Matt Murdock.
I've heard that.
/ Daredevil. Which, in and of itself, is exciting. Daredevil's a character that everybody likes.
It is only exciting if it's played by the same guy. What's his name?
Charlie Cox.
Yes.
And that's the rumor.
It's unacceptable if Matt Murdock is anybody else.
But what it means to me, and first of all, if that Daredevil from the Netflix shows is now canon with the MCU, that'll be awesome.
Well, it always was canon with the MCU, because there's shit going on in the background. You, see, in those Netflix shows, you see, the news going on.
Right, but what I'm saying is
one of them is definitely happening during Civil War.
Right, but it was very much like S.H.I.E.L.D. towards the end, where the shows acknowledged what was happening in the movies, but the movies never acknowledged the shows.
So the movies were always a bigger scale than the shows were. The shows are always a smaller scale.
Right. So when I say the MCU, I mean the film side of things, not so much the TV. I mean, God, I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I would love for them to bring Quake in. But if this is their way of sort of re-canonizing the Netflix characters, because the holdover period with Netflix is over now. Daredevil in there, awesome, but the rest of the Defenders, specifically Jessica Jones and Punisher, for me, is an awesome possibility. John Bernthal's one of the best.
It'd be an awesome thing if they could fucking fix Iron Fist.
I mean, we don't have to bring in Iron Fist. It's fine.
Only if they fix him.
Kristen Ritter.
If you bring in current Iron Fist, then fuck off.
Well, he's probably going to pop up in the Shang-Chi movie. As he is, right?
As long as they fix him.
Anyway.
He's not a little bitch. Sorry.
Look, because you got to imagine sooner or later down the line, I know that there are X-Men versus the Avengers comics. You know they're going to do like a civil war on a grander scale once the X-Men get reintegrated into the Marvel canon. There's going to be some sort of X-Men versus the Avengers type thing years down the line. I mean, you could throw the Defenders into that mix. Like I say, Luke Cage wasn't my cup of tea, but Daredevil, Jessica Jones for sure. I love Jessica Jones. If you guys haven't figured that out by now, Kristen Ritter playing Jessica Jones, John Bernthal playing the Punisher, Kristen's favorite character from Netflix, Iron Fist, in there doing some things. Bring in Rosario Dawson as the...
I think I've already said this. I hate the Netflix Iron Fist. I fucking love Iron Fist himself, like the comic version, which is why I was so angry.
You were, and I didn't know anything about most of these characters, and I went in blind, and I was like, oh, yo, these are pretty fucking kick-ass, and then we were on to something else, and then I asked you about Iron Fist, and you just went off for a second. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get my popcorn and let you get it out of your system.
So angry about Iron Fist, he was so dumb. Anyways.
So bad.
It's been years, and the anger is not subsided.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not bringing the full Netflix canon over, and it is just a one-off, and it's just Charlie Cox bringing the Daredevil character over because he's going to defend Spider-Man, even that by itself will be kind of cool. I know they've got a pretty tight connection in the comics as well. I'd love to see the Charlie Cox Daredevil get his own movie at some point, or like a buddy cop type movie with Spider-Man, because Charlie Cox and Tom Holland would probably work pretty well together. But
goddamn heroes for hire.
With Luke Cage and the Iron Fist that you don't like.
There was glimpses of a good Iron Fist in the Defenders show.
Mm-hmm.
Small glimpses of the Iron Fist I want.
You're like so close and yet so far away.
Exactly. Small, tiny glimpses of the Iron Fist I want.
I don't know. There's something about, like I say, again, specifically the Punisher thing. I'm a big fan of John Bernthal. I think you put John Bernthal on an Avengers team, and it's like, here's this guy, he's got this suit, and this guy can shrink, and this guy turns big and green, and this guy's blind, but he can still do stuff, and this guy makes spiderwebs, and this guy over here is just pissed off.
And he's angry.
And it's so good. But no, I think it's like a lot of things that I'm going to mention in this pod. I think it's a cool thing on its own, and I hope it opens like X door type thing. Now, speaking of opening the doors, one of the first things that was announced when they talked about Spider-Man 3 is sort of like the mentor of Spider-Man, because Tony's obviously dead. Spoiler if you haven't seen Endgame, but you know, it's been long enough. So sort of taking over as his mentor is going to be Doctor Strange, which brings up a lot of questions, because by this time he's already going to be mentoring why can't I think Wanda. Like, yeah. He's going to be mentoring Wanda and all her powers and the Scarlet Witch of it all. So first of all, on a very small scale, does that mean that we've got Scarlet Witch in the Spider-Man movie? Second of all, because Wanda and Doctor Strange are doing Multiverse of Madness, it opens up the door to multiverse stuff / Spider-Verse stuff in the Spider-Man movie. First of all, they've just done Spider-Verse, the animated movie that everybody loves.
Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, it's fucking awesome. I love that movie. I rewatch it all the time.
I don't have anything bad to say about the movie. This is my film and TV equivalent of Kenny Omega. I think Kenny Omega is a great wrestler. I don't see why people see him as a god. I think Spider-Verse is a perfectly fun, entertaining movie. I don't understand the pedestal that it's on. I'm not saying that anybody else is wrong. I'm not saying that I'm going to fight anybody about it. For me personally, like, it doesn't hit that hard. But I don't know whether they're going to do another Spider-Verse, like, live-action movie so soon after doing the Spider-Verse animated movie.
Well, I think they're doing a new animated Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, with the gender bent Dr. Octopus.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, and it's all good. The Miles Morales Spider-Man was not a character that I was familiar with, so that part of watching Spider-Verse was awesome for me because I didn't know that was a thing. But again, going back to Spider-Man 3, you look at some of the casting rumors. We hear that Andrew Garfield and Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2
that'll be so awesome.
Are all making cameos.
Multiverse Spider-Man.
So 3 Spider-Mans and the old Electro and the old Dr. Octopus potentially in this movie. Now, I'm down for that.
A lot. Just like I was afraid about Endgame being like, there's so many people. Like, how the fuck are they gonna how is this not gonna be a movie that costs like $5 billion to make?
And how is this not going to be some kid pouring all his action figures into a bucket and shaking it around?
Yeah.
It
won't be quite as. I feel like Endgame made it happen, made it work.
Yeah.
And Infinity War made it work and stuff. Clearly they've made it work before, so I think they can do it again, but it's just still daunting to me to be like, holy fuck, how are they going to get all these people in?
See, now I'm not saying that this won't work if that's what they do in Spider-Man 3. I will say that there's a difference between what we're talking about here and Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, because Avengers Infinity War was a fucking task, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all the character, even though there was like 100 of them, they were all canon to each other from the beginning. And I think that's a different film task than taking characters that were clearly not part of the MCU canon and now all of a sudden making them canon. I'm not saying one's better, one's worse. I'm saying from a film storytelling point of view, those are 2 different tasks. I'm down for it. I want to see it. Alfred Molina as the old Dr. Octopus is creepy as hell because you get the Sam Raimi direction in there, and Jamie Foxx as Electro it's a big pile of CGI Jamie Foxx, but it's not terrible. But I think if we're gonna go multiverse, like, is there eventually gonna be like the Electro from this universe? Is there going to be the Dr. Octopus from this universe? Like, if we're getting all the different Spider-Men, are we going to get 3 different Electros, 3 different Dr. Octopuses, and all that sort of thing? Now, bigger picture, this is what they might be doing in this movie, and now I'm going to open the door to what I think it could become. We've definitely taken 2 different sets of characters from 2 different movies that are not canon with current MCU. Now, does that mean that eventually old Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, Ben Affleck Batman, Elektra, a couple of different versions of the Fantastic Four,
Batman wouldn't be in it,
and the Fox X-Men are all suddenly gonna become canon under the umbrella of, well, it's a multiverse?
Yeah, but that's the wrong comics. Batman's DC.
Yeah. When did I say Batman?
You said Ben Affleck Batman. You meant Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck Daredevil. You knew what I meant.
I didn't. That's why I was confused.
You knew what I.
For a minute,
You're making fun of me.
I forgot Ben Affleck was Daredevil.
Because, and here, the only one, okay, Daredevil is whatever, Elektra's whatever, Fantastic Four is, X-Men, they're going to be recasting the X-Men. That's just a thing. The one that actually does kind of hit me the right way is Ghost Rider. Because the Ghost Rider that they brought into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was apparently the Ghost Rider that took the mantle of Ghost Rider after Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider.
Yes.
So I kind of wish that, because it's Robbie Reyes was the Ghost Rider on, it was Johnny Blaze was played by Nicolas Cage. Robbie Reyes was the one on S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, if you want to show a generational thing, that's an easy way to say, okay, Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider is canon, and then just bring back the one that was in S.H.I.E.L.D. Because the one that was in S.H.I.E.L.D. was good. Then you bring him in, and he brings in Quake, and I get to see Chloe Bennett on my TV again. Everybody wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see Charlie Cox and Ben Affleck duel it out for who gets to be Daredevil.
Charlie Cox.
Would you be really, really mad if it was Ben Affleck?
I mean, I don't think I'd be as mad as some people would be, but...
I mean, Ben Affleck's done being Batman, so maybe he's going to hop over to the other team.
Be Daredevil?
No, he's done being Batman. In DC. So he can come back and be Daredevil now.
That's what I just said.
Yep. I said what you said. Moving on. We know they're doing a new Fantastic Four, so bring in the other two incarnations of the Fantastic Four. Just have them walk on screen and be like, no, these guys have got it, and then they walk back into their own dimension again. I think that would be great. Like, as a post-credit scene, because so many Fantastic Four characters went on to be other characters in the MCU. One of them went on to be Captain America, which is, that's a bit awkward. But I think if we are going to do this Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire thing, we at least open the door to any other Marvel movie that's ever been made suddenly becoming retroactively canon. And I think that's something they can play with. I also think that's an idea that they could run into the ground.
Yeah, that could go horrible. In some ways.
Yeah.
If they don't handle it correctly, it could go very wrong.
Although Deadpool could play a role in that. Like, if they have the actual Fantastic Four, whoever's going to be in the new actual MCU Fantastic Four, and then the other two teams from the other two attempts by Fox sort of, like, come through the portal, like they've just come back from their world, Daredevil just comes along in the post-credit scene, he's like, no, back you go, just cleaning up the timeline.
The only way I accept Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool coming into the actual MCU, I'm pretty sure he is in the MCU, sort of, but
he's considered canon now, yeah.
Yeah, the only way I can even consider him going into the actual MCU.
I think I know where you're going.
Is if it is a end credit scene where Deadpool shows up late after all the shit has happened.
Yeah. Well, somebody said...
And it's like, oh, fuck, I missed it again.
Well, here's the thing. Deadpool is a really complicated thing for me.
I gotta let my cat out of the office or else he will dig his way through the carpet. Keep talking.
Okay, everybody be totally quiet and make Kristen feel bad until she comes back.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. At least you're not moving furniture or driving this time.
No, I trapped Dodger in here, and if you trap Dodger in a room, he panics and tries to pull the carpet up to get out.
I mean, I don't want to be trapped in a room, so I'm with Dodger on that one.
But he's trapped in a room in here with me.
Yeah. I'm not going to answer that because there's no nice response to that.
Keep going.
Anyways, here's my complicated thing on Deadpool. I think they have to be really careful with Daredevil. Not so much with the R rating thing. The R rating thing is something you can kind of get around. But the fact that he does the fourth wall break, and I think I've said this in other videos before.
You mean Deadpool. You said Daredevil.
Fuck me. Deadpool. because he does the R-rated thing, he's going to be not R-rated if he's in an ensemble movie, right? But also he does the fourth wall break. And the fourth wall break is one of those things that changes what kind of movie you're watching. Like, you couldn't put Deadpool in Infinity War because that changes the entire type of movie you're watching.
Yeah.
So, either you have other MCU people show up in his movie, which could work, and he could, hey, Chris Hemsworth when Thor walks on the screen or something ridiculous like that. Or you do what a lot of people said when Stan Lee died, and you have Deadpool. You have Deadpool take over the Stan Lee cameos, which could be good or not. Or you save them specifically for, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge post-credit scenes. I don't think you can put him in a lot of Avengers movies.
I totally agree.
And it's not
That's why I said the only way I can accept it is if he's an end credits where he shows up late. He's like, fuck, I missed it again.
But are you with me in the sense that, like, other MCU characters can show up in his movies and it doesn't hurt it nearly as much? Because then it's just
It'd probably be smaller characters. It probably wouldn't be like Chris Hemsworth or something like that.
Just like randomly Hulk shows up and is like, stop fucking around. Like, gets him. Hulk.
I would love for Chris Hemsworth's brother to somehow get a role in it, and they make a joke about how they can't afford
Real Thor.
I
can make an AEW joke out of that. They couldn't get Dolph Ziggler, so literally this past Wednesday they had Dolph Ziggler's brother.
Really?
They did.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Is Dolph Ziggler still in WWE?
Yes, he is. He's a tag team champion right now with Bobby Roode. Those out there that are tuning in for MCU content, that are like, fuck this wrestling garbage. I
needed to catch up.
I gotta get an AEW dig in there whenever I can, especially when it's Royal Rumble weekend. What was I gonna say? I don't know. I think it would be awesome if you did a movie where Deadpool was trying
to say it twice just to make sure you said Deadpool.
No, but if you did like a total farce where he's like sick of everybody else's shit, he doesn't want to take any shit from the Avengers, so he tries to like make his own Avengers. Like you say, Chris Hemsworth's brother or somebody in Ruffalo's family comes and plays like a mini Hulk. And so on and so forth, and he just gets like the cheapest like knockoff versions of all the Avengers, and then the villain is like nobody. It's like somebody robbing a bank. It'd be really, really fun. But you can do that with that character. I don't think fully putting Deadpool into the MCU, I don't think it works. As much as I love the Deadpool thing. I think it's
we love the Deadpool thing because of the
Deadpool thing.
Like the fact that they couldn't, like the fact that he makes a joke about how they couldn't afford any other X-Men in this movie.
And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like now that he's not with Fox, now that he's with Marvel.
And like a door opens and you see which X-Men is it? Is it the Days of Future Past X-Men in the background?
Where it's two different casts?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where it's two different casts and two different timelines, and the only person that stays the same is Hugh Jackman. Okay, I will say, if Hugh Jackman ever comes back to do another Old Man Logan movie, like before Logan, which would be weird, I would be okay at this point having a Deadpool and Wolverine team-up movie.
Mm-hmm.
It would make no sense, but I wouldn't care. Only because Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds like take the piss out of Hollywood like on a daily basis. Just have that on screen. Just do it.
Well, and they've already sort of done that in Deadpool, just because like when he staples the Hugh Jackman face onto his face.
Yeah. And when he has, like, they superimposed Hugh Jackman in that post-credit scene when he was, like, just cleaning up the timeline of, like, the shitty Deadpool with, like, the sewn-up mouth.
What else? They also, he's also made jokes about...
Everybody.
He's also made jokes about fondling Wolverine's balls.
Yeah. Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my own movie? I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with Pulverine. It's good.
He's got a pair of smooth criminals downstairs.
I mean, the fact that he literally called, what was the cyborg dude's name in the second Deadpool? I just did it again. Deadpool.
His name is it's supposed to be Nate Summers, but what is his
Anyways, he calls him Thanos.
Oh yeah,
is what I'm going for.
That's right, because he does play Thanos.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is gonna drive me insane.
Can't think of the other character's name. Can't think of the actor's name. Fuck it. But we all know what we're talking about at this point.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, she's on it.
And then there's a weird pause.
Well, we already had one while you were letting your cat out, so.
Oh, you could. I thought you were gonna keep talking. Cable.
And
the actor's name is Josh Brolin.
Yes. Yep.
Don't get mad, everybody. We had a brain fart. It happens.
I had a she Googles faster than I do moment. Okay, so that was what spun off of all the other non-MCU Marvel becoming canon. We quickly turned it into a Deadpool conversation.
A Deadpool.
So that in itself has a lot of potential. Some of it great, some of it not so great. Oh, the other, as far as non-MCU canon becoming canon, the only other thing I could really think of is Mahershala Ali is about to become the new Blade. If we get a cameo from Wesley Snipes' old Blade, I think that would be awesome. But also, I still
this is what happens when you start making old things canon.
Yeah.
Start retroactively making old things canon, then it becomes this giant clusterfuck.
Okay, as soon as you get into time travel or multiple realities,
that's true.
You've given up the fight of your movie not becoming a clusterfuck.
Yeah, that's true.
So you might as well steer into the clusterfuck. I still do want to see Blade versus Morbius if we can get the Marvel and Sony relationship to keep working somewhat properly. Okay, so the next thing, and this is only based on an offhand comment from Zendaya when she was talking about the movie. It was very, very offhand, and it was very, very nondescript, and it was, we could have anything. We could have more heroes, we could have more villains, we could have aliens. Anything can happen in this movie. As soon as she said aliens, everybody landed on the Skrulls. Now, Captain Marvel...
I was about to say we already have the Skrulls.
But here's the thing, though, is there's a bit, it is, again, this is where Spider-Man becomes a little bit of the meat in the sandwich between other things. Because the Kree-Skrull War thing sort of started on the Captain Marvel movie, or at least we got bits of the story through Captain Marvel. I mean, it's a great character that got plonked into a shitty movie, but that's fine. Then we had the Skrulls showing up at the end of Spider-Man 2 as Fury and Maria Hill.
As fake Fury and fake Maria Hill.
Yeah, and this is where we saw that Fury was actually on the Sword spaceship and all that. So we know that they're definitely there. And we know that if there's talk of aliens, it could be the Skrulls. Now, somebody pointed out to me that it could also be anybody from the Guardians of the Galaxy canon, but that's something for another day. But apparently, later on down the line, I think it's in 2 years, they are setting up for a Secret Invasion show on Disney+. So, if this is sort of the beginning kickoff of that, based off of the very end credit scene of Spider-Man, this could be another stop on that story. Now, I don't know how much that story will involve Spider-Man after this movie, but it's just, if they just have something in there to say, hey, we still exist, and Sword is still out there, and Fury's still out in the stars somewhere on his like lounge couch thing in the middle of the spaceship. It might be one thing too many for the movie. If we're already doing multiverse, and we're already introducing Daredevil, and we're already making a bunch of other people canon, and we've already got a bunch of Spider-Man villains, the Skrulls being in it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know they've done it before because I don't feel like Endgames was a clusterfuck, and you're like, God damn, there's so many fucking people. Like, how are they going to do this? They've done it successfully before. That doesn't mean they can't also fuck it up.
I will say again though, like,
Although, in all honesty, because we've reviewed pretty much all of the movies.
Yeah, we have. Majority of them in one
all
podcast.
Honesty, even the bad ones. So even like Thor 2.
Thor 2's not that bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I think it gets shit on a lot.
Bad ones, even if you take quote the bad ones, how many of the MCU movies have been like
bad?
Terrible.
See,
on a real level of terrible.
I don't think anything MCU has done has been terrible. I mean, there have been...
Well, and see, that's what gives me confidence that I don't think it's going to be too much.
There's been a couple of shows that have fallen down. Like Agent Carter fell down, Immortals fell down, S.H.I.E.L.D. was good until it got weird. The Marvel Netflix shows, even though they got canceled because of other reasons, the Marvel Netflix shows were good. I mean, even Iron Fist.
We can agree to disagree, but
I had fun, and once I knew how much. I
would say out of all the Marvel anything, that is my least favorite.
Right.
Probably followed by the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season where they were like in the fucking future for whatever reason.
Well, because they wanted to avoid trying to write around the snap. That's why they jumped forward in time.
I know.
But I think the worst offenses that the MCU, like just looking at the movies, I think the worst offenses that I could say that they've committed is they've done a couple movies that I just don't care. Specifically Ant-Man. Or they've done movies that are really, really good based around characters that I don't like Captain America. But even those movies, even if I don't particularly care for the style of movie that Ant-Man was, because Ant-Man was more of a family movie, more of a kid's movie a little bit. Not my cup of tea, but that doesn't make it bad. Captain America isn't a character that I like, but the movie that they built around him was awesome. So, like, even the stuff that I would say is, like, quote-unquote, like, fell off the mark, it was more a case of taste than, holy shit, somebody shit the bed on this.
Exactly. That's what gives me confidence in the idea that even if it doesn't turn out...
I mean, we've got a movie coming up this year, and two of the main characters are Jon Snow and Angelina Jolie. So, can't be that bad.
So I'm not too concerned because Marvel has they have a good enough rapport with the audience that I think they could take risks on some things and it not be like the thing that kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And see, this is the thing too, and I hate to look at it from the extremely negative point of view. They're also at the point now, and at this point, where they could completely fall on their face, and by the next movie, nobody will care. Mm-hmm. Now the last thing, and this is more...
I keep saying though, at some point there's gonna be a breaking point because there's gonna be some point where like a new level of audience comes in, like say my nephews are gonna get old enough to start watching all of this, and they're gonna hit a point where it's like, well, why is this like this? Oh, well, you would have had to watch Thor 1, 2, and 3, and they're on like Avengers 6 at this point, and they're like, "Fuck, I'm not going back and watching all those."
I think we're sort of in the middle of that right now, though, because Endgame, I mean, sort of Spider-Man 2 as well, but Endgame was sort of like the end of the Infinity Saga, like as they're calling it, and there's a lot of reset. Like you're getting, like Ant-Man's kid is going to be a young Avenger. Obviously, we're going to get Wiccan and Speed, who are going to be the next team. I mean, the Hawkeye show is going to be training the next Hawkeye. The Black Widow movie that's coming out this year, hopefully, quote unquote, is going to be introducing the Yelena Belova new Black Widow. Like, I think we're, like, that reset that you're talking about, I think we're in that right now. Anyways, the last one that I want to talk about, because we've talked about pulling characters from the MCU. We've talked about pulling characters from the Netflix Marvel. We've talked about pulling characters from the non-canon Marvel. Now let's talk about pulling characters from specifically from the Sonyverse, because eventually they're going to do Sinister Six. Like, that's what they've been talking about since the first Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Since they got Spider-Man.
Now, if they're bringing in Jamie Foxx as Electro, I don't know who's in the actual Sinister Six. I'm just looking at the villains that we have right now. We've got a version of Doc Ock coming in. We've got a version of Electro coming in. I'm not 100% convinced that Mysterio is dead after the last movie. I'm just saying. Michael Keaton's Vulture is definitely still around because he's kicking around in the Morbius movie. If these
he's in jail.
He's in jail. He's talking to the other guy with the scar on his face, who's another villain whose name I can't remember. So that's 5. You need one more to make a 6, right? But if Vulture is included in a mainstream Spider-Man movie, which is technically part of the MCU, my next question is, do we bring over the other 2 characters from Sony into the mainstream MCU, and that being Morbius, Venom, potentially Carnage?
I don't know, but I also was a person that wasn't a huge fan of the Venom movie.
Really?
No, it wasn't for me.
Okay. That's a bit of a bummer. I really liked it.
I thought it was dumb.
I really liked it. And again, it's my it's the same reason you don't watch any previews or anything for WandaVision. We talked about this in the last pod. I don't have any I intentionally don't have any preconceived notions. I don't read a bunch of comics. I go in as best I can to take a character at face value. So if can't think of his name now, Tom Hardy is my introduction to Venom, then it's the same as Tony Stark being my introduction to Iron Man. And now Morbius is up in the air, but it has the other bias in my head of I like vampires. I already want to see Morbius fight Blade, and I haven't seen either of the movies yet.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm really down for a more collaborative thing between Marvel and Sony. The fact that it's strictly confined to, okay, we'll share one character over both of these timelines. I think it's a bit limiting, and I think everybody benefits. The more they can collaborate, the more they can do some cool shit. Because eventually Sony wants to put Spider-Man in their Venom verse. They want to have Venom and Carnage and Spider-Man in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So bring all those characters over, have a big old party in the Spider-Verse, but let that be part of the MCU as well. Get Venom one of the, remember when they all came out for Endgame and they all had the matching Avengers suits and they were all white and red and black, and get one of those for Venom just so we can burst out of it. Let Venom fight Hulk. Do all those silly things. Do all those silly things that people that read the comics, well, what if Venom fought the Hulk? What if Thor fought a vampire? What if it
gets crazy at that point.
Yeah, and it's why I want there to be amalgam movies. The amalgam comics from way back in the day, where you actually had DC and Marvel working together, and then you got Darkclaw, who I think is the coolest looking character ever. I hate limitations on creativity. I think I was nervous going into Infinity War and Endgame. I'm like, okay, the whole, again, I'm going to use the same metaphor, 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, and it worked. And I think that's the fact, never mind the story that they told, the fact that they did everything they did in those movies and it worked is the biggest victory they have. So so after that, I have to see them fail before I say there's a cap on what they can do next. And I think if they open the floodgates between Sony and Marvel over more than just one character, I think everybody would benefit. I don't see it.
We'll see how greedy Sony and Marvel are going to be.
There's a lot. There's a lot. And yeah, I don't have any other rumors. I think we've fired through them pretty quickly for the short bullet points that I had. So after everything that we've talked about, I don't even know when this movie's happening, and the movie doesn't even have a name yet. If I could say to you right now, what's one thing you want to see in the next Spider-Man movie, what would it be?
Like I said, I'm interested in the multiple Spider-Men. See how that goes. Like I said, I try not to go in with nothing to see what they're gonna do.
That's fair. 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag?
Yes.
Yes! All right. Sounds like fun. I'm starting to lose my voice just a little bit. That's what we get for doing 2 podcasts in a row. Kristen,
Yep.
for the second time tonight, tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at BlackCatFeline, and if you're not Spaz, I may actually answer you back. He bitches about it. I answer him back, just not all the time. Stop being so clingy, Spaz.
And you know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. She's been Kristen. This has been FLIX. Subscribe up there.
You tried to make me be like, hey, are you still in the call? Nope, wasn't going to do it. Fuck you, Spaz.
I don't even get the outro. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Kristen are out of here. Bye, guys.